Here's a question. What about bank accounts? I always hear it is good to have one account together and one separate. Good question.
And I see nothing wrong with that, as long as you let him know you have that separate account.
I agree.
A separate account could be something for your wish list, that maybe you want to start your own business and he allowed you and you allow him. It's a two-way street. My husband and I both, we had a after we came to our senses and after I came to my sense and starts talking about how much money I made and you don't tell me how to spend my money. On the way to divorce. We made a vow that any purchase over $100, we would consult each other. Anything under 100, if it's small things, no problem. But we kept track of that. You can't be making under $100 purchases every day. Every now and then, if you want to make a purchase under $100, you don't have to consult it. But any major expenditure 100 or greater, before you make that purchase, sit down. Honey, what do you feel about it? And if he says no, or you say no, because you have a right when he comes to you to ask you, can I buy this? No, honey, not at this time. You both agree. And one thing I know about, I think everybody on here are Christians. One thing I know about this, and my mama told me this, and I'm sure Kathy shared this with you guys because she told her the same thing. God is your husband's boss. Mm-hmm. So although he's the head of the house, if you feel like he's doing something unfair, do you have confidence in the God you serve? My mom taught me that. She said, if you think that something is not being done wisely by your husband, shut your mouth, stop talking back, stop arguing, and you pray about it. God is not a God that he should lie. If you put it before him, God would honor your submission to your husband, and he will correct him. And he'll come back around. Hey, honey, you know what you asked me for? I thought about it. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. My husband has done me that so many times. Go ahead and do it. Because I knew how to pray. Prayer is a powerful tool.
So a lot of women here are probably going to marry into a blended family. So how does they deal with husbands who are paying child support?
Well, if you love them, you talk about it in before you get married, and you realize that now that child support is your child support. Mm-hmm. You can't separate the two, and you can't get an attitude. That's not my child. You knew going into the marriage that he had that child support. So now, and you treat that child as if that child is your own. Do not, never, ever. Because if you married him and you love him, everything that's connected to him, you need to love. Do not treat that child differently, because when that child grows up, that child is going to either hate you or love you. And if you treat that child wrong, it's going to create a wedge between you and your husband.
In the relationship, should you bring up finances? First few dates, months, or after the engagement? It's a good question. Very good question.
You can bring it up before engagement, because once you get engaged, you kind of committed. I mean, get me wrong, you can break off engagement, but if you guys been dating for 3 or 4 months and you think it's serious, and you are exclusive to him and he's not dating anyone else, then you need to start talking about, well, what do you do for a living? Well, you should already know what he does for a living, but how are you prepared financially? Do you have a lot of credit card? Ask those questions, because if he gets offended that you ask those questions, he ain't the one.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Here's another one. How can you find out if someone has been how can you find out if someone who you are going to marry has outstanding child support?
Ask him. And if he a Christian and he lies to you,
he ain't the one.
He ain't the one.
He's not the one.
There should be no secrets. You can't, well, I'm gonna wait till I get married, because if I tell her now, she may not marry me. No, tell him now, because it's gonna tear up your marriage later.
Excellent question here. What should be financial deal breakers? Excellent question. What is a financial deal breaker?
That's a good question. And
good question.
It's not one single answer to that. So a financial deal breaker for me, I use me for example. If I married somebody, or was getting ready to marry somebody, not married, I was getting ready to marry somebody, and they told me they had $100,000 worth of debt. Even if they only made $50,000, If they could not tell me a plan or show me a plan on paper how they was going to get rid of that debt, that's a deal breaker. But if they had all that debt and say, look, honey, this is what I have, but this is what I plan. This is my 5-year plan. I'm going to pay this down this kind of way. Then he's got potential, because sometimes people get in situations, unfortunately, that they couldn't prevent. Something happened major. They lost a job while they was accumulating that debt, and they couldn't, and they were without a job for several years before they met you, and now they're trying to get out of the hole. If they have a financial plan written down strategically on how they're going to get out of that debt, and if they have a good head on their shoulders, you look at what they're doing on their job, you look at what they're accumulating and saving, then it's a potential that they will definitely end up getting out of that pit or hole that they're in, and they may end up being a millionaire. So it's all about, every case is different. But if the person is slowful, is not ambitious about themselves, I think you should ask a person. Just say if a person is a low-level financial analyst, ask them, what are your plans for the future? What is your professional career path? Where are you planning to be? If they're saying, well, I'm just gonna go to work and do this every day. If they don't have a vision, and if they don't have a goal to go to the next level, then that's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker.
Get started if you have more month than money. That's a very good question.
More what than money?
More month, and your money runs out before the month runs out.
Oh my God, I never heard that.
Yeah, more month than money.
Boy, I never heard. That is so funny. I love it. I love it. Okay, I need to see her face. Love that. That girl, you sound like somebody I know. You witty. If you have you have more month than money. What you do is you fake it till you can make it. So you just, but don't borrow out of the hole. If you can prevent from, so what we would do in certain days is we would, like I said, don't buy a lot of food. Whatever you have to do. If you don't have kids, cut down on your eating, cut down on, it's a lot of stuff I did. We figure out ways to stretch that, because the month did run out plenty of times before the month. But you just think of things strategic. Go to your mama's house. Can I come over for dinner? Do things strategic. Things do happen, but always have a plan. Never settle and say, I'm gonna be this way always. If you repent to God for poor spending habits, God would turn it around. He will.
Awesome. I remember being on the struggle bus getting married too. We were on the struggle bus. We've had to hide vehicles. So you go through it. I don't know if people know, when you fill out your application for a car and they ask you your nearest relative that you live next to, that's because if you fall back on your payments, they want to know where you're hiding your car. I don't know if you go. That's why they want to know who is your nearest relative that live near you. I remember my mother didn't even notice. She went out of town one weekend and we hid the car in front of her house because we had another relative as a nearest relative. I'm thinking,
I never thought about that.
Oh, but yeah, that is why I have it on there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I never
figured that's where you're going. You're gonna hide your car. We hide your car, hide your wife, we were hiding the whole.
You, Antoine, had your mama, had your children, because they coming to get you.
They're coming to get you. We have had to hide some stuff. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's not fun to grow up and learn how to manage money at the same time. It is not. So the best you can get educated on this side of IDU, the better. Wanda, thank you very much. I enjoyed it. I even picked up I shouldn't say even, I picked up some tips, some things that I can apply to my life in this season. And I appreciate you coming on to share your heart. Her website is wandabowman.com. You can go on to pick up her book, wandabowman.com. I encourage you to get them. And when you get them, read them. And read them again and take copious notes. And we should go into marriage financially confident as an asset, not a liability.